My name is Nora. I am 27 years old. I reside in a quaint village in Canada. As a child, I envisioned a life that was both simple and joyful. My aspirations included growing up, finding a suitable partner, getting married, having children, and living in a small, comfortable home that I believed that love would make life straightforward. However, I discovered that life does not always align with our dreams. That I met Ryan when I was 23 years old. He was 26 at the time. Ryan was tall, with black hair and green eyes. He had a gentle laugh and enjoyed making jokes. He was talkative and shared amusing stories. We first crossed paths at my cousin's birthday party. That evening, Ryan requested my phone number. Although I felt shy, I provided it to him. The following day, he sent me a message asking, "Would you like to meet for tea?" I replied, "Sure." We convened at a small tea shop in the village. It was chilly outside, but warm inside. We engaged in conversation for 3 hours, sharing laughter. He spoke about his job as a taxi driver, while I shared details about my work at the library. After that initial tea, we continued to meet frequently. He brought me flowers and called me every night before I went to bed. After 2 months, I realized I was falling in love. 3 months later, I confessed, "I love you." He smiled and responded, "I love you too, Nora." I felt incredibly happy. We were together for a year. Financially, I struggled as the library did not pay well, and Ryan's earnings were modest as well, but I was unconcerned. I believed that love was sufficient. One morning, while preparing for work, I felt quite ill. I suspected I might have eaten something bad. The next day, I felt unwell again. My best friend Hannah visited me and suggested, "Nora, perhaps you are expecting a baby." I laughed, "No, Hannah, I don't think so." Yet, deep inside, I was uncertain. I went to a local store and purchased a test. I took the test in my bathroom and waited anxiously. When I finally checked it, my hands began to tremble. It was positive. I sat down on the floor, realizing I was going to have a baby. That evening, I visited Ryan's small house. That he opened the door and smiled. I did not smile. He looked at me and inquired, "What happened?" I replied, "I have news. I am pregnant." Ryan fell silent. He took a seat and stared at the floor. Then he questioned, "Are you sure?" I affirmed, "Yes." He did not smile. He rose and walked to the window, avoiding my gaze. He stated, "This is not a good time, Nora. I am not prepared to be a father." His words pierced my heart like ice. I responded, "But we love each other." He remained silent, only saying, "I need time." That night, he did not embrace me. I found it difficult to sleep. The following morning, he departed early, saying, "See you later." However, I understood that was not the case. After that day, Ryan ceased to contact me. He ignored my messages. He did not answer the door when I visited his home. One day, I sent him a final message. He replied, "I can't do this. I'm sorry." After that, there was silence. I returned to my parents' modest house. I sat in my childhood bedroom and wept for hours. My mother comforted me with a hug and cried alongside me. My father, though quiet, placed his hand on my head and said, "You will never be alone, Nora." Those words provided a brief warmth. I worked at the library daily, reading to children and smiling at patrons, yet inside, I felt frightened and isolated. My belly expanded, and I sensed the baby moving within me. I visited the local doctor and heard my baby's heartbeat, which made me cry. I purchased small clothes for the baby, and my mother assisted me in acquiring a small crib. One frigid night, my labor began. My mother took me to the small hospital, and I gripped her hand tightly. The nurse announced, "It is time, Nora." Although I was scared, I felt prepared. After many long hours, I heard a faint cry. The nurse declared, "It's a boy." They placed him in my arms, and he felt soft and warm. I gazed at his tiny face and whispered, "Hello, my baby. I am your mama." I named him Leo. I remained in the hospital for 2 days before we returned home. My mother assisted me daily. However, at night, it was solely Leo and me. He cried frequently. I felt extremely fatigued. At times, he also shed tears. Yet, when I gazed at him, I felt empowered. I kissed his tiny head and whispered, "I will never abandon you." Ryan never reached out. He never visited Leo. One day, I spotted Ryan at the bus stop. He met my gaze briefly, then turned away. He did not utter a single word. I yearned to shout, "This is your son." But I remained silent. I cradled Leo in my arms and walked away. When Leo reached 6 months, I returned to my job at the library. My mother cared for Leo while I worked. I missed him constantly. At the library, I arranged books on shelves. I smiled at the children, yet, my feet ached, my back throbbed, but it did not cease. Occasionally, Leo fell ill. I stayed awake throughout the night. I provided him warm water. I sang gentle lullabies. When he recovered, I felt as if I could finally breathe again. Upon turning 1, he began to talk. He stumbled numerous times, but he always stood up again. I applauded and said, "Bravo, Leo." He chuckled and clapped as well. When Leo turned 2, his speech increased. He expressed, "Mom, a book and more milk." He enjoyed playing with my shoes. He loved to dance to music on the radio. One day, I brought him to a small park. He dashed through the grass. He noticed other children. He laughed and engaged with them. I sat on a bench, observing him. The sun warmed my face. I felt exhausted yet grateful. That day, I encountered Ryan once more. He was accompanied by another woman. They were laughing together. I averted my gaze. I did not want Leo to recognize him. He was unaware that Ryan was his father. I held Leo's tiny hand and kissed his head. That night, I watched Leo as he slept. I softly murmured, "You have him. That is sufficient." When Leo turned 3, I received a letter. I was granted approval for a small house from the village council. It was quite small, but it belonged to us. My father assisted in moving our belongings. My mother prepared soup for us that evening. Leo laughed upon seeing his small bed. I stated, "This is our home now." In our modest house, life was uncomplicated. I read Leo books every night. He cherished the one featuring the yellow duck. He consistently remarked, "Duck." Amusing. Occasionally at night, I found myself alone and felt isolated. However, I never longed for Ryan. I merely sought tranquility. One day, a woman entered the library with her daughter. She appeared fatigued as well. She remarked, "It is challenging to be alone, isn't it?" I smiled and replied, "Yes, but our children empower us." She returned my smile and said, "You are doing wonderfully, Nora." That evening, I embraced Leo tightly and said, "You are my strong boy." When Leo reached the age of 4, he inquired, "Mama, do I have a daddy?" A pang of sorrow struck my heart. I responded, "You do, but he does not reside with us." Leo questioned, "Why?" I explained, "Because he chose not to remain." Leo gazed at me and said, "It's all right. Behave you." I embraced him. I whispered, "Yes, you will always have me." Now, Leo is 5 years old. He attends kindergarten. He rises early and cheerfully says, "Good morning, Mama." He consumes breakfast at a leisurely pace and consistently desires more jam on his toast. He adores his small school bag. He speaks about his friends that he tells me, Mama, I aspire to be a doctor like you. I read in my books. I chuckle and respond, you can become anything you wish, my love. Occasionally, I sit beside his bed at night. I gaze at his small face that I recall all the challenging nights. I remember all the days I believed I could not manage this. Yet here we are, just me and my little boy. And I realize now that perhaps me life did not unfold as I envisioned. But I have Leo. He is my dream. He is my love. He is sufficient.